We start off this morning with Morgan State University head coach Fred Farrier. Morgan State's game at Savannah State was postponed last week due to Hurricane Matthew. The Bears will travel to Hampton this weekend. Good morning, Coach Farrier.
Good morning. How are you today?
Fine, yourself?
Doing great.
Coach, you had an unexpected bye last week as a result of Hurricane Matthew. And as a result, what did you work on during the extra time? And then talk about this week's opponent in Hampton.
I think right away you got to kind of refocus and shift, your preparation to that next week. You end up picking up a couple extra days preparation on your next opponent. But at the same time, we were able to, when that decision was finally made on Thursday, we actually, the decision was made, I think, end of the day on Wednesday. We took some time off on Wednesday and then took some time off on Friday, so they got a couple extra days off, a little rest and recuperation, an opportunity to be a normal student and just kind of go to class and do some normal people things, which is a little bit different for student athletes. And, we got back to practice on Thursday, got back to practice on Saturday, used a little bit of that time to kind of get ahead in recruiting and do a few things in recruiting as a football staff and get a couple extra days on the next opponent. Hampton is a very solid football team. They're playing very well right now. Coming off their win against Delaware State, they were very productive on offense, over 500 yards, really almost an even split between rushing and passing yards, and did some good things, running and throwing the ball. And defensively, you're talking about holding a team to under 300 yards. So they played well in both phases, offensively and defensively, didn't have any major mistakes in the kicking game, really controlled field position in the kicking game. So they're a very, very good football team and a team that's getting better after a little bit of a slow start early in the season. So very formidable challenge. You're talking about a team that's coming off a big win, heading into homecoming, which is always an exciting time, and we've got to go down there and find a way to play a good football game. We've got to neutralize some of the threats that they have offensively and defensively as we get ready to go into that game. This is another team that plays a two-quarterback system. One guy's a primary runner, one guy's kind of a primary thrower, but they do a little bit of both with each of them. They got a really good receiver that they like to get the ball to in Rashawn Proctor, and he's been very productive, almost 40 catches in 5 games. And, they got a running back who does some pretty good things. They got 2 running backs, actually, that have done pretty good, Erik Carter and Yaqui Johnson. So we'll have to have an idea of where those guys are when they're in the game. We'll have to have an idea of where Rashawn Proctor is, and those guys are big up front. So they're going to make an effort to run the ball. I mean, they almost ran it for 300 yards last week, so I'm sure they'll come into our game looking to build off the momentum they created running the football and still being able to find a way to get the ball to Rashawn Proctor and some of those types of things. So they put up a really good challenge for us. Defensively, they're playing some different fronts and some different coverages, and, Devin Van Dyke is their leading tackler right now and doing really well playing Mike linebacker, so we'll have to have an idea of where he is, and they've got some good players in the secondary and some good guys up front. They've got guys up front who are big and strong, and Keenan Marr, freshman, is a little over 6 feet, almost 300 pounds, and Desmond Sturdivant is 6'1", almost 300 pounds, and Owen Basui, 6'4", 310 pounds. So those guys are going to put up a very big front up front, and it'll be important for us to have an idea where they are, be able to have a plan for those guys and go out and just play a solid football game. But we'll be excited to get a chance to play another game after losing a game last week with the rescheduling due to the weather, but very, very grateful for the opportunity to reschedule it. Our country as a whole just went through a lot these last few days with the hurricanes down there, and a lot of people were displaced and kind of off their normal routine. So, we were very fortunate to not get stranded down there and to have an opportunity to reschedule the game later. But the focus is now on Hampton. I think our guys, after having a week and a half off, our guys are excited, looking forward to heading down there and getting a chance to play a game again.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You will hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. If your question has already been answered and you'd like to withdraw your registration, please press 1 followed by the 3. If you're using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. One moment, please, for our first question. Our first question comes from the line of Ty Miller, Sheridan Broadcasting Network. Please proceed with your question.
Coach Farrier, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you, Ty?
I'm good. I want you to expound a little bit more on Rashawn Proctor, and you talked about his receiving, but also talk about how he can be a factor in the special teams kicking game.
Yeah, he's definitely a force for him. You're talking about a guy who's got 39 catches for 559 yards and averaging almost 15 yards a catch. And, return game-wise, he's doing some really solid things there as well. So, we've got to know where he is. I'm sure they're going to move him around, put him outside, put him in the slot, probably put him in motion, and those types of things. So it'll be important for us to know where he is at all times. I mean, he's averaging over 100 yards a game, has caught some long balls, has caught some short balls. So when you're playing against a guy like that is kind of featured, you really have to know where he is, because he's definitely a person on their team who is doing some really good things. When you start talking about special teams, it's going to be extremely important to know where he is and be able to stay in some return lanes, because kick returns, he's averaging almost 20 yards a return, and then that you're talking about 20 yards, that's 2 first downs. When you're starting drives, he's got a long of 39 yards, which is 4 first downs. So we've got to stay in our coverage lanes. We've got to get down. Our kicker has to make sure he's getting the ball up in the air so that our guys have time to get down the field and cover. And, he's done a phenomenal job for him, and it'll be a challenge to see if we can keep him in front of us, tackle him, and get him down on the ground. So when you have a player like that, it's really important, offensively, when you got a guy like that, to try to find ways to get him the ball, especially when he's as productive as Rashawn is. And then for us defensively, when you play against a team like that, you got to know where he is. You got to have a plan for him, and you got to try to keep the ball away from him and get him down on the ground when he does get it.
And, Coach, last season, Twan Mixon, and even in preseason, he was a guy of note. And talk about how it's even more of a challenge for your team defensively when you got a guy like Mixon also in the mix with their receiving core.
Yeah, they got some guys who have done really well. Mixon has got 15 catches, but also Shaquem Alonzo has got 15 catches, and Yaki Johnson has 11 catches. So they've got 4 guys who are in double-digit catches. You got to, as much as we want to know and identify where Rashawn Proctor is, you still can't forget that there's other guys out there on the field, and those guys are all capable of stepping up if one guy is kind of taken away. So we've got to be able to play, fundamental gap sound defense. Guys have to get into the right zones when we're playing man coverage. Our eyes have to be where they need to be, and we got to have good feet when we're covering those guys. And from a overall standpoint, I mean, Hampton has really thrown the ball all over the field. So, on a game-to-game basis, they're averaging over 250 yards a game passing, which is probably top 3 in our conference. This last game they had 265 yards passing and were very efficient. They're completing almost 60% of their passes. They're completing touchdowns and not throwing a lot of interceptions. So they are very formidable in that area. Coach Maynor does a great job, in terms of what they're doing offensively. And they're averaging 400 yards a game, which is, where you want to be at for an offense. So with the weapons that they have, it's going to be, really important for us to know where those guys are. Shaquem Alonzo is a big 6'4", 6'5" guy who can go up and get the ball, and that'll be a challenge for us. So we've got to know where these guys are. We've got to not make mistakes. We've got to try to get some pressure on the quarterback and try to keep everybody in front of us. And it's going to be real important for us to make sure we're in the right spots all the time.
My final question, Coach, is about your team protecting the football. In last season's game, 5 fumbles, 3 which you lost. Talk about the importance of keeping possession of the ball.
Yeah, ball security is paramount in any football game. And I went back and I watched last year's game about 7 times. I actually just came out of a meeting with my football staff. We actually practiced this morning, and I implored everybody to go back and watch that game a 3rd and 4th time, because The amount of mistakes that we made in that game was almost embarrassing. We turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone. We didn't protect the quarterback very well, and we were just, it was just a bad day of football for us, and it was really embarrassing. Looking back on that, that's something that we cannot allow to happen as coaches. We've got to protect the football. Ball security is something that we stress every single day. It's something that I've harped on to our team, and we're actually going to go back and watch last year's game with our entire team together and point out a lot of the different mistakes that we made because, in my opinion, it was embarrassing, and guys need to remember that. I mean, they came up here with a plan. They executed their plan. We made all the mistakes that we could make, and they took advantage of every single one of those. I mean, we gave them a 95-yard scoop and score touchdown off a bad pitch on an option play, and they scored on it. And, we've got to make sure we're doing the things we need to do to execute our offense successfully. We've got to make tackles defensively. We've got to get guys on the ground. Can't give up big plays in the pass game, and we got to get pressure on the quarterback. So we got to just get back to a fundamental brand of football. We got to be efficient in what we do offensively. We got to make sure we're not making a ton of mistakes. And defensively, we got to make sure we're keeping guys in front, getting pressure on the quarterback, and making tackles. But ball security is a huge issue. It's something that we've emphasized a ton. I think overall our turnovers are down from last year, but the turnovers that we do have this year are still too many. And we've got to figure out, game to game, how to make sure we're minimizing those mistakes and not giving our opponents short field position and extra opportunities to score the football.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Thanks again, Coach Farrier, for your time, and good luck as you travel to Hampton this weekend.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to getting back on the field.
Okay. Good luck, and I'll see you this weekend. Once again, Morgan State will be on the road against Hampton University this Saturday, October 15th. Kickoff is scheduled for 2 p.m. and will be streamed live on HamptonPirates.com. Our second call this morning comes from Tallahassee, Florida, as we talk to second-year Florida A&M head coach Alex Wood. The Rattlers fell on the road in a defensive battle at North Carolina Central last weekend and will travel to Delaware State this weekend. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Good.
Coach, last week's game came down to the wire once again. But could you just talk about the team's play during the stretch last week, and do you see a corner being turned in terms of the team going into the direction you want them to go with?
Well, we played hard last week. It was tough conditions for both sides, both teams. Obviously it was wind and rain throughout the game, and the elements obviously played a significant role in the outcome of the game on both sides of the ball. But yeah, we're glad to see our guys play hard, play inspired, make some plays. Keep the game close, which we thought it would be, because of the conditions, and have a chance to win in the fourth quarter. Obviously we didn't win it in the fourth quarter, but just to continue to play, hard and compete for 60 minutes is what we talk about doing, because in every game, it doesn't have to be, pretty perfect, but we do want it to be complete, and we thought we turned out a complete game. Again, you can't get plays back, but the last run there, which is the one that sealed the game for them, you'd like to get back, but just doesn't happen that way.
And it was nice to see Devin Bowers back on the field. So talk about his play, but also talk about the unsung hero, Kobe Blanton, as he had a great game punting.
Yeah, he did. He kept us, in good field position, for the most part, put him in a tough situation, in the field goal right before half by getting a penalty, which was really, really upsetting and disheartening, because I thought we were at a position where he could have put points on the board for us there, and made an already tough situation more difficult. But punting wise, he did a good job of doing a rugby style punt for us in tough weather conditions, and again put us in some favorable field position most of the time. and handled the ball well. You know, we didn't have one fumble on offense and no fumbled snaps on this in the special teams with the punting. And so that was crucial for us. And again, it was one of the elements of the game that kept us in the game. Not turning the ball over in short field, and we had to punt in some tough situations coming out off the one time, and I think off the 5 another. So he did a great job, and Devin Bowers, you know, in the last run that he had, just showing second and third effort to get the ball in the end zone for us to answer that play action touchdown pass that they got late in the fourth. We answered and went up once again, and that was a great play to see him make, and our entire offensive unit make. I mean, he had good blocking on that play as well.
Thank you, Coach. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to register for a question, please press 1, followed by the 4 on your telephone. Once again, if you'd like to ask a question, please press 1, followed by the 4 on your telephone. We have no questions from the phone lines at this time.
Well, thank you, Coach Wood, for your time, and good luck as you head to Delaware State this weekend.
Ryan, thanks a bunch, and look forward to talking to you next week.
Oh, same here, Coach.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Florida A&M will travel to Dover, Delaware to play Delaware State this Saturday at 2 p.m. The game will be streamed live at dsuhornets.com. Next up, we have Bethune-Cookman head coach Terry Sims. Bethune-Cookman's game at South Carolina State was postponed due to Hurricane Matthew last week and will be played on November 26th. The Wildcats will host North Carolina A&T this Saturday afternoon live on ESPN3 with the ESPN telecast later that evening. Good morning, Coach Sims.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Yourself?
I'm great.
Coach, it's been an interesting year to say the least with the injuries, your lightning delays, and now the game postponements. As a coaching staff, how have you dealt with all these factors on a weekly basis as now you're recovering from Hurricane Matthew?
Well, I think, one, you have to take them as they come and continue to prepare and continue to move forward. You can't allow a little adversity to stop you or to hinder your progress. So we're continuing to look forward and continue to work and try and get this football team better and get ourselves in a position to win a football game.
And from the little time we had to spend on football, obviously with what went down last week in Daytona, what have you seen on tape from North Carolina A&T?
Well, I mean, I think I see what everybody else is thinking. It's a very good football team. It's a football team that you look at them and I've heard guys say, well, they don't do a lot, but what they do well. And they don't beat themselves. They make sure that they're where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. And you put that, in with playing hard and having good football players, you have yourself a championship football team. And I think that's just what Coach Broadway has built. He's built a great football team there. And, they're guys that everyone's out to beat right now.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, please press 1, followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question today comes from the line of Donald Ware from Box to Row. Please proceed with your question.
Thank you. Good morning, Coach Sims.
Good morning, Donald. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Because the game was originally, I guess, supposed to be played on Thursday now. Well, first, let me ask, how are things in Daytona Beach? Let me ask that first. How are things in Daytona Beach?
Well, we're doing a lot of praying and a lot of cleaning right now. We're picking up the pieces. We're trying to get our football team established and get them back in their normal routine. We just got those guys back yesterday evening, and we're getting ready to have practice here in a little bit and get them back back moving around and into the flow of things. So, you know, we're as a university, we're recovering. We're thankful that we didn't, you know, have a lot of damage, but we had enough. But, you know, our administrators and all of our team, they're doing everything in their power to get us back where we need to be so we can start functioning again.
How do things change? I mean, I guess you get a couple of more days of preparation, but from a timing standpoint, how do things, and even moving forward, how do things change because the game is moved from Thursday to Saturday?
I really don't think they changed because we didn't have a football team here to prepare. So, you know, we're right back on our regular schedule as far as, you know, not having anything going on Sunday, and we'll practice today, tomorrow, and Thursday. So it's our regular routine. We just missed our Sunday practice, which is usually a correction day and a day where we introduce the new opponent. So that's the day that we're missing right now. So it's not really a huge change. We just missed our correction and intro day.
Can you speak to the running back, Pough and how he's performed for you so far this year?
Pough's been a pleasant surprise. We didn't know exactly how effective he would be this year, being, you know, a new guy and a young guy, and not having, you know, really any experience and no college experience. But he's a competitor. He's a smart guy. He learns fast, you know, and he loves the game. He loves to play. So he's going to be the guy right now that we're going to put this thing in his hands and let him run with it.
Between Akevius Williams and Larry Brim, what do you, at the quarterback position, what do you have in these two young men?
Well, I think, you know, one, in Larry, you have a guy that's been around, and he's a veteran. He's a guy that understands our offense. He's played in this offense for a couple of years, and he's a leader, you know. But we're not going to say Larry's right back in there. He's the guy right now because Larry's not 100% yet. He's moving around better. We should have him for a few snaps on Saturday. We're still waiting on his final clearance for that. You know, we got a chance to put him in for a series against Central. But right now, Akevius, he's growing. He's growing every day, like where he is. You know, we're not winning the games that we feel like we should win, but it's not, you know, just on Akevius. We have some other things that we have to fix. So as far as he goes and his progress, I'm pleased where he is right now. I think, you know, he's going to be the quarterback in the future for this program.
Can you pinpoint maybe, because I think a lot of people would be surprised, especially that you guys were picked to finish second in terms of the conference. And I know that's preseason, but can you pinpoint as to maybe why such the slow start?
Well, you can start by not having 9 starters when you start the season. I mean, that will affect you a little bit, you know. And in college football, you have to pull the next guy up and continue to move, you know. And at this level, you know, all coaches understand depth is an issue, and we felt like we had, you know, good depth, but we had a few guys go down with some pretty serious injuries early. And you know, offensively, having guys go down, you have timing issues with offense. And defensively, we had a unit that played together, you know, last year, and they were good, but with a few missing pieces off of that defense, now you got to plug guys in and bring them up to that level. And it's just been slow for us getting those guys where they need to be at this point. But I think we're continuing to work, and, you know, our football team, they're not quitting. They're continuing to fight, and they're hungry. They're ready to play football.
Can you speak to the play of A&T running back Tariq Cohen and the challenges that he as a runner in that offensive line present to you?
Tariq, And from what I know of him, the couple of times I actually had a chance to speak with him, outstanding young man. You know, you have an athlete like that, you have to try to keep him contained. But I think, you know, the answer to that is make sure you have some points on the board. Because, you know, you can hold him down, which we've watched the last two teams that played him. They held him intact for a couple of quarters here and there, but he breaks long runs. He makes big plays. He turns busted plays into big plays. That's just the type of athlete he is. He has a great offensive line that you know, they sustain blocks for him, and he doesn't need much room to be able to get out of there. So we have to make sure that we're holding our gaps and we're gap sound in everything that we're doing defensively this week.
All right, thank you, Coach Sam.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Coach Sams, how are you this morning?
I'm good, and you?
Doing fine. Coach, what do you remember about last year's game up here in Greensboro? What were the keys? I think you Larry ended up doing a lot of throwing, trying to get back in the game. What do you remember about that game stands out in terms of what you have to be careful about this time around?
Well, number one, penalties. I think last year it was a tough football game. It was a football game that I thought at the time when we were in the game that it could have gone either way, but we had some costly penalties. You know, and you're never gonna get all the calls that you want, but I think we had some costly penalties defensively that put them in great field position, you know, late in the game and allowed them to go down and score towards the end. So I think penalties and making sure that we're sound offensively and that we're doing, because I think the thing that I remember most about last year, we had a receiver ran the wrong route, and if you watch it on film all day long, you know, he was open if he runs the correct route. So it's little things like that, little MAs and costly penalties. So I think if we cut down on the penalties and we don't have MAs at crucial times in the football game, I think we'll be fine.
You came into that game last year. That ended up being your only loss in conference play. What do you think is the mindset of your team right now, coming off the Savannah State loss, obviously not playing the game a week ago? How would you describe the mood of your team headed to the game?
I think we're fine. We're upbeat. We're not, you know, we're not a team, and I think it says a lot for youngsters, period, these days. These young men, they're not going to sit and hang their heads and feel sorry for themselves. We got to dig ourselves out of a hole, and right now that's where we're at. That's the mindset. We're going back to work today, and we're going to correct these mistakes and put our plan together for this game on Saturday and move forward. So I think the mindset of this team right now, we're fine. We're hungry. We're ready to go back to work, and we're ready to go out and have a great day of practice today.
Good luck on Saturday, Coach.
Thank you.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Thank you, Coach, for taking time out to speak with us, and good luck as you prepare for North Carolina A&T this Saturday.
Thank you.
Once again, Bethune-Cookman will play host to North Carolina A&T State this Saturday, October 15th at 1 p.m. The game will be televised live on ESPN3 and shown on ESPNU at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will now head north to Dover, Delaware for our fourth call this morning as we welcome in Delaware State head coach Kenny Carter. Delaware State lost to Hampton at home last weekend and will host Florida A&M in its homecoming game this weekend. Good morning, Coach Carter.
Good morning.
Last week, Coach, a third quarter touchdown basically was the difference in the contest. Could you talk about last week's game, and what's the next step in getting your team to pull out these close contests?
We have to minimize mistakes, and then we have to capitalize on opportunities, that we provide for ourselves. We have a coverage bust in the first drive of the game, on a simple deal, and young players have to be able to take coaching and just not make mistakes, and so they get the lead, and then we come back and we fake a punt on the first drive, we take the ball down, we drive, we score, and tie the game up, and then we let another big play happen, and then we come back and we capitalize on that, and then we get a turnover in plus territory, but we don't come away with any points. We block a field goal, we don't come away with any points. So we're doing things that are giving us the opportunity to have a chance to win games, but you have to be able to finish. And our young guys, we work on that every day with the thought of teaching them how to finish.
And talk about your passing game last week. Quarterback Dan Lepperson had 245 yards, and you had a freshman wide receiver that was named Rookie of the Week. Just talk about the passing game's development.
Well, a lot of things we have to do with Dan is get him comfortable and then get him out of the pocket a little bit. He's a 6'1" guy, maybe close to 6'2". So it's hard for him to sometimes just stand back there and be a drop back guy. So getting him in a situation where he can move around, and then the receivers, Fatu, who you mentioned, and Mason Rutherford and Keenan Black, those guys, they have the ability that you don't have to just put the ball on them. They can adjust the balls, and he can throw it up and put it in an area to give him opportunity to make plays. And that's what's starting to happen, because now everybody's starting to gel together, and we're getting in practice we're getting in games what we're getting in practice. So again, that's if we can continue to do those things and accentuate the things that are positive and really try to eliminate the negative, we've got a chance to improve ourselves every week and become a team that can pull out some of these close games as wins instead of not winning.
And lastly, talk about Florida A&M this week, and what's your game plan?
The game plan is to try to go win the game. It's pretty simple. Coach Wood does a great job. He's got a great staff, and their kids play hard. They're going to play structured football. Offensively, they're going to try to make sure that they're balanced and throw the football, run the football well, and and be sound in the kicking game. So it comes down to, as it does in every game, the team that really can capitalize on mistakes that are made, and the team that can play turnover-free football and not have penalties will have a chance to win the game.
Thank you, Coach, and we'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. As a reminder, everyone, you may press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone for a question. We have no questions from the phone lines at this time.
Coach Carter, thank you for talking with us this morning, and we look forward to talking with you once again next week, and good luck in homecoming this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Once again, Delaware State will host Florida A&M this Saturday at 2 p.m. For homecoming. The game will be streamed live at dsuhornets.com. We now head to Washington, D.C. for our next call as Howard University head coach Gary Harrell joins us. The Bison fell in a non-conference game to Monmouth last week, but returned to conference play as they host South Carolina State this weekend. Good morning, Coach Harrell.
Hey, good morning, Ryan. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Hey, doing good this morning.
Coach, last week you was close early in the second quarter until an interception and an onside kick gave Monmouth a 14-point swing. Just talk about that sequence. How did that change the whole game?
Well, I don't want to say it was an onside kick. We played well. We came out. We struck early. First drive went down in 3 plays, and came out a lot of tempo, a lot of energy. And then somewhere in the second quarter, like you said, and turnovers and they pooch kick and guy that we coach all week and we see it on film. That's what they do. We did it later in the game, but he failed to just fair catch. Didn't react to the ball fast enough. They recovered, and I think it was like 3 plays on special teams that kind of really took some momentum away for us. You're talking about that play, return, and then a block punt. In the game of football, you only need about 4 or 5 good plays to have a good chance to win, and we just didn't play well. It was not a good performance when it comes to stopping the run. First and foremost, I think offensively we moved the ball. We had a running back that had over 200 yards, but our problem right now is definitely special teams, getting better on special teams, and also just defense, getting stops, tackling, just bringing that toughness to the ball game.
And speaking of your running back, talk about Anthony Field, y'all. 234 yards. He's carrying the load for you now. And just talk about how is he preparing, even as teams are keying on him, but he's still producing.
I think Coach Sherman do a good job. Even though he's carrying the ball, it's not like he's carrying the ball over 30 times. He's in that 20, 25 attempt range, and he just we try to run more good plays than bad plays based on looks. And he's a guy, when he sees it, he's very explosive, and he has some big runs. And we wanted to continue to put him, Anthony Fairyard, in that position. But we definitely have other guys outside, like Cal Anthony, who's a young freshman that can take some pressure off. Once we get, we've just been down at the running back position with William Parker and our freshman running back, C.J. Rainey. But we'll get those guys back to help carry the load, and we'll make sure it's running back by committee, so we just don't overuse Anthony Fairyard. Right now we're 6 games into the season, 5 more conference games to play. Our bye week is not to November, so we have to make sure that we're careful as far as how we use him. But he's a tough kid. He looks for contact. We tell him to try to step out of bounds to lessen the contact, but he's the type of kid he seeks it out and he wants to take it head on. And he's a tough kid. There's no doubt about it. He's the toughness. He brings a mindset to our offense, and we're definitely going to feed him. We're going to continue to ride him. We're going to definitely make sure we protect him with plays and make sure guys around him step up and have to take the load off.
And speaking of rest, South Carolina State comes this week. Couldn't play their game last week due to Hurricane Matthew, and you haven't had a bye week yet. So just talk about what to prepare for with South Carolina State coming into town.
I mean, it's like every year with those guys, they're always a tough team. Coach Buddy Fields doing an outstanding job with the program. They're definitely solid on offense. They have a good scheme. Behind quarterback York and the running back Bishop Ford. As far as their zone scheme, they do a lot of screen outside. So they have a concept of offense that can be very complex to a defense. So you have to make sure that you're sound, that you get lined up, and that you rally to the football and do team tackling. On defense, they always have guys up front and on the D-line and linebacker position that can put pressure on you. And the secondary do a good job as far as the coverage. So we got to make sure it's home. We didn't perform last week for our first home game on campus, and we love to defend home. And we get another opportunity to get back into MEAC play to face a tough opponent, a worthy opponent in South Carolina State. And we just look forward to the matchup. Like we say every day around here right now, we just have to do what we do as a football team. I think we're scoring enough points to solidify wins. Now we have to make sure that the total team effort when it comes to all 3 phases, offense, defense, and special team, just get on the same page. So, our message this week is just self accountability, just everyone doing their job. And being in the gap where you're supposed to be on defense, staying on sides on offense in crucial times, making a catch. Last week we had 2 touchdowns called back due to holding. We had 1 touchdown that dropped by Cal Anthony. So that's 21 points when you're talking about we scored 27, but we And there's so many points, so many plays that we're leaving on the field. And the guys, we had a good meeting yesterday with the players, and, they understand it's on them. They're in position to make plays. And like I said, it goes back to self-accountability.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, please press 1, followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Coach, Ryan really touched on the question. I wanted to talk about Farrier and
yes.
What is his particular skill set, and what does it mean to be getting him back after missing almost 2 years?
Luke, he's a tough kid. He does everything as far as for the running back position. He can block. He can, he's good in protection. He can go out and run routes. So he's good in the passing game. Got great hands. And of course, we see what he can do with the ball in his hands. We're definitely fortunate to have a kid like Anthony Farrier on this program. And it's amazing where he would have been, like you mentioned, if he, didn't miss those 2 years. I call him Ali. Being on for 3 years and come back even better. He's a great kid, and I think he's so hungry because of the time that he missed. He don't take it for granted. So it's like every time he gets an opportunity to touch the football, it seems like he runs very physical. He plays angry. But he's just a kid that definitely is one of the best not only in this conference, but we played 2 Big Ten opponents, Maryland and Rutgers, and I felt comfortable that I had the best running back on the field. And so he's definitely a guy that we try to utilize, but in the right way. We just don't want to run to an 8-man box, run into a brick wall. We want to make sure the count is there, but he can do it all, Luke. He's a guy that will play on Sunday.
Well, that's the next question. Given that, and I think size-wise, he certainly fits the bill. What about speed-wise?
Speed-wise, definitely. He's very deceptive with his speed. He can hit the holes very fast. He has his biggest asset is his vision. When he sees it, he hits it very fast. I think he's the type that runs fast enough. I think he has decent speed, but when he gets out in the open, he's in cruise control. And sometimes you don't see guys coming from behind, and they might catch up and catch him on a tackle. But usually when he breaks in an open field, he's very elusive, and I think he has enough speed. I think he can get a little bit faster. If he gets even more faster, I think he'll definitely be a threat for the next level. But he has another year. He's still young, so he has a chance to finish the season, go through a complete summer off-season conditioning, and come back and perform well. But definitely speed-wise, I don't think that's hindering him, but he can get a little bit faster on the top end because he runs like Erik Dickerson. He's very smooth. Knees are very high, in and out of his cuts. But sometimes it seems like it's just that one motion. That he don't really change gears as he reaches the top of his speed.
That sounds like Harvey Reed.
It does. That's a good comparison. Harvey Reed, and that's you got to be careful when you throw that name out because he was a very special guy.
Right.
But yes, you're right. He does put in the mind for Harvey Reed.
Yeah, but running for 234 against Monmouth, what were the kinds of plays that he got the yardage on? It's obviously a great yards per carry, but was it inside the tackles, was it outside, or did you kind of run him all over the place?
It was both. We were inside, outside zone. We just knew that those plays worked well based on the configuration of their defense when they gave us the look we wanted with the 5-man box. So we didn't run a whole lot of power scheme as far as straight downhill A-gap, but we did run inside zone, which is in between the tackles sometimes, outside zone. He's able to get outside on the perimeter. He's that type of back where, a lot of backs are not good with both concepts, inside and outside zone. Inside, you have to be patient, and sometimes it cuts back behind with the speed that can capture the edge. But he's effective in both schemes, and I think that really give opponents problems because he's able to do that. A lot of teams will substitute backs or call certain plays inside outside zone based on the guy they have in. With Anthony Farrier, we can call inside outside zone, and we also feel good with power. So it wasn't everything outside. A lot of things was right up the A and B gap, and he was able to crease them and take them a big yardage. And sometimes the play wasn't there, and he does a good job as far as making guys miss in the backfield and then hitting another gear and taking it for the distance.
South Carolina State has held Tariq Cohen. I think in his 3 games he's played against South Carolina State, I think his best game has been 62 yards. I think that was his freshman season. He's had 62, 49, and 57 yards in those 3 occasions. And you know as well as I do, South Carolina State is known for its defense. What are you going to have to do to without giving away any secrets? What do you think you're going to have to do to establish the ground game with Farrier against a tough South Carolina State defense?
Like the same thing what we do. We try. They're very talented at South Carolina State. They're very tough against the run. We played Norfolk State. We thought that Norfolk State. We really respect their defense. They're very good against the run at Norfolk State. But we're just able to get some breaks, and we had a good scheme. Coach Sherman did a good job, and it's all about just having the right scheme on and understand what they're trying to take away. And it's all about being in the position and formation that give us the advantage to give us those plays. You can't let a defense dictate the offense the way by their fronts and coverages. So whatever they like to do best, like you said, without giving anything away, football is football. They know what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to get in formations. We know when it comes to their fronts, they don't like to be in those in situations. So our plan is just to do what we do, go through our scheme. We're not going to change much because we had some success. Stick with what we've been doing all this week as far as our inside zone, outside zone schemes, and based on the look that we like, to just take our time because our defense is not where we want it to be, and we don't want to put them in a position where they're going to be in the field all day. So time possession is very key. So that's why we take our time, see what the look we like, and Coach Sherman do a good job as far as putting us in a position to run good plays.
Coming off your first win, this is my last question, Coach. Okay. Coming off that first win over Norfolk, was the Monmouth game a step back or step forward or kind of like a lateral step?
Big step backwards. That game really, along with the Hampton game, I think those 2 very, very performance for us. We didn't perform well against Hampton, and the score reflects that, and we didn't play well against Monmouth. We came out early, struck early. I think the guys got excited, and they said themselves, we started to celebrate within ourselves, and we just didn't finish. And Monmouth did a good job as far as being disciplined, making plays, and they separate themselves from us. But that was a big step back for us because I thought that we, coming off a tough win against a very, very good team, led by Latrell Scott at Norfolk State, I thought we can build on that and continue to grow because winning helps a lot, and the guys felt good about it. But that game really 2 steps back, to be honest, especially when you're going to face a tough team in South Carolina State this week. Now, you want to have success. You want to have so much going in your favor. So we had to come back in this morning at 6 a.m. on the practice field and really turn up our tempo and understand what we got to get done.
Gotcha. Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Thanks, Luke.
Our next question comes from the line of Trevin Jones with SBN Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Trevin A. Jones, SBN Sports. Thanks. Coach, good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Hey, good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm well, sir. Coach, did you get a chance to look at last year's game, South Carolina State and Howard? And the reason I asked that question, 2 parts to this. South Carolina State got out to a quick lead, and then Caleb York actually was able to pass for 200 yards against us last season. Did you get a chance to check that out in last year's film at all?
Yeah, we looked at that last year's film. A lot of things we did wrong early in that game. We had Jamie Cunningham, and I think that was the last time Jamie Cunningham actually played quarterback at Howard. We just made a lot of errors early and fell behind too quickly to a very good football team. We didn't perform well early, and we paid for it. South Carolina State came out and performed in the passing game and in the run game, and the special teams. They had a return for a touchdown also. But that was a different team than what we have now. I think our passing game is not where it is now. We feel comfortable with Kyle Anthony. We feel good about and feel awesome with Kalen Johnson, who's making exceptional passes right now. And we have a run game. So now you have a run game. We didn't have a run game to really take pressure off our quarterbacks at that time of the season. At that time, we was trying to find our identity last year. We were trying to see if Jamie Cunningham could be the quarterback, or did we have to go to a young Kalen Johnson, which we ended up going to about second quarter in that game. And I think from that point, I think it brought us to where we are right now in the passing game. That Kalen, he grew, from each game where he took his bumps and bruises and had some mistakes. But I think he's ready for the challenge.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Coach, because the reason I asked that question is we got off to a fast start this past weekend, and the guys got kind of excited. And Kalen is looking very poised running the offense because the offense was moving. Talk about his growth, if you don't mind.
I mean, yes, he leads by example. He's very soft-spoken, but he has a very quick release. He's very poised in the pocket. He really trusts his offensive alignment. And I think the best thing right now for him is that Coach Sherman has put a package together, or offense, where the ball usually comes out quicker than it did last year. He gives Kalen an understanding with his reads, what he wants, so he's not all over the place. I guess the sum up in word is his eyes. He plays better with his eyes this year than he did last year. And that's why he's having more success. I think the game has slowed tremendously for him due to last year. And it's coming more natural to Kalen. And he's doing an exceptional job in the passing game for us. And I think he's going to get even better. I mean, last year was a learning experience for him. This year, for me, it's his first full year, as a polished quarterback. And after this year, we'll have him for 2 more years. So we're definitely in a good position when it comes to quarterbacks.
And my last question, Coach, everybody's been talking about Anthony Farrier at the beginning of this conversation. My concern is number 10, South Carolina State, Darius Leonard. Double digits in tackles, had 19 against Clemson. Is it going to be like number 10 against number 7, Coach, or what do you see happening there?
I'm very concerned about number 10 also. He is an outstanding football player. So we got to make sure that we, offensive line-wise, we definitely cover him up and make it difficult for him to make plays. I mean, he's downhill, he's sideline to sideline. He's a tremendous defender. But we just have to trust in what we trust, and I like my guys up front. Coach Torrey is doing a good job as far as not only on the first level, but they do a good job as far as getting on the second level. But Anthony Farrier, he's very smart. Yeah, he's very instinctive when it comes to his reads, and we just have to see on Saturday who wins that matchup.
I appreciate your time as always, Coach. Much respect. Thank you for your time.
Always. Thank you, Trevor.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Thanks again, Coach Harrell, for joining us this morning, and we wish you well against South Carolina State this weekend.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Howard will host South Carolina State this Saturday at 1 p.m. in Washington, D.C. Hey, we're now joined by Norfolk State University head coach Latrell Scott. The Spartans fell to North Carolina A&T State last Thursday night, and we'll have a bye week on Saturday. Good morning, Coach Scott.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm here.
Coach, just recaps last week's game at North Carolina A&T, and in particular the second quarter, which kind of broke open a scoreless game.
Well, it's not much to recap. They played better than we did, and it's one of those games when you're playing against one of the better teams in the country. You have to score points when you have opportunities to. I mean, obviously you can only keep Tariq Cohen at bay for so long. I thought our defense played well early, and we had some issues before the half. Went in at the half down 14-0, still had opportunities in the second. I think it was 14-0, probably halfway through the game. But again, like I said, A&T's a little bit ahead of where we are, and that's where we want to be. And we're going to take the time like we have on this bye week and shore up some things and try to finish the season as strong as we can.
And speaking of your bye week, just talk about that in a little more detail if possible, and just talk about what will your focus be on the field and off the field.
Well, our focus is Norfolk State. Our focus is obviously getting ourselves better. You go through and you look at the first 6 games, and you see the things you did wrong, and you try to take a couple of days this week and go out and actually practice. It's not an off week for us; it's a bye week, so it's a week for us to get better and fix things on offense, fix things on defense, and fix things on special teams. And believe me, we got a lot to work on.
And lastly, can you just talk about the play of your quarterback? And just he's growing each week, but I know some weeks you mentioned he played like a quarterback. Other weeks you say he played like another position. But just talk about his development and also the play of your defense and the Chapman kid.
Well, Greg is been up and down all season. He's our best offensive football player, and our team goes as Greg goes. A lot of the things that Greg shoulders, aren't necessarily the result of him breaking down, but obviously, there's some pass rush things and some, receiver and running back things. But overall, we're going to settle things down and slow down things for Greg and give him the best opportunity to be as good as he could be for the next 5 games. And Sandy Chapman's a senior corner for us. Sandy struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks, but we'll take this bye week and get his confidence back, because I think he's one of the best defenders in the conference, and I think some big receivers have taken advantage of his size deficiency the last week, so we'll make some adjustments to help him there. But all in all, we're still fighting. Our head's not buried in the sand by any stretch, and we're going to make the next 5 games as competitive as possible.
Well, thank you, Coach. And we'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you may press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone should you wish to ask a question. We have no questions from the phone lines at this time.
Well, thank you, Coach Scott, for taking time to speak with us, and we'll talk to you after your bye week.
Thanks. Take care.
You too. Norfolk State will have a bye this weekend, but will return to conference play on Saturday, October 22nd against Bethune-Cookman. We will now talk with Hampton University head coach Connell Maynor. Hampton defeated Delaware State last weekend on the road and will host Morgan State for its homecoming game. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
For a month, it's pretty much have been since you played a home game. So talk about returning home, but then it's home at the same time. So how do you put those distractions aside and focus on Morgan State?
Well, you're right. It's second home game, and it's homecoming. And I tell the guys, homecoming is not for us. Homecoming is for the alumni, the students, and family members and fans. They come to see us play a football game. We need to be prepared to play and play at a high level, and focus on football. We're not going to any activities on campus. We got to go to film and weights and class, and then be prepared for Saturday. So it's a home game, and it's homecoming, but homecoming is for those guys, not for us. It's another football game for us.
Now, last week against Delaware State, it was a close game in the third quarter until your running game broke the contest open. Just talk about the play of your backfield last week during that spell.
They played well, but the offensive lineman up front really opened up some holes for those guys. Erik Carter rushed for, I think, 127 yards on like 12 carries, and Yaki Johnson had like 126 yards on 11 carries. So, the common denominator there was the offensive line was opening up holes, and both of those guys took advantage of those opportunities last week.
And also, you had 2 quarterbacks play during the game. Is that by design, or you just go with the hot hand?
Oh, that was by design. Jay was playing well. I wanted to get Cox in and get him some reps in the game, and when the game was still meaningful, because if you got one, you got none. So I thought it was an opportunity to get him in there, get him some reps, and then I got Jay back in.
Well, thank you, Coach, and we'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you'd like to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You will hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Connell, how you doing?
Good, Luke. How you doing?
Not bad. To have two guys top 100 yards, does that just emphasize how good A&T's defense is to hold you guys down like that, or did your guys just make some adjustments and block much better this time around?
Both. It's both. A&T run defense is the best in the league, and those guys really do a great job with that front six and stopping the running game. And we just schemed Delaware State a little bit different. They play a little bit different defense in North Carolina A&T, and we was able to get some good running holes against them.
And what? And I think Ryan probably covered it, but I didn't get it on tape. So, Morgan State, and what the big concerns you have about the way they would attack you, both offense and defense?
Well, they're good. They have a good football team. They 2-0 in the conference, and they hungry. They come looking to get to 3-0. And the coach is doing a great job on both sides of the ball. We have to be prepared. Offensively, they try to do a little bit of everything. They go too tight, and they can go some spread. So we have to be prepared for situations and who they got in, personnel. Defensively, they fly around. They're going to put 5 men on the line, then they go with a 4-man line, and they play a lot of man coverage behind it, and then they play some coverage behind it. So we just have to be prepared for all the situations, and we're getting prepared for both of the fronts they give us and the coverages and the zones and mans that they like to play. So it's going to be a tough football game. They beat us here 2 years ago on homecoming, and we beat them last year. They played on homecoming. So we need to break that trend and win at home on homecoming.
Gotcha. Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, you may press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Coach Maynor, one more question. Can you talk about your specialist? As 1 week you had Adam Brown hit a 51-yard field goal, and now you have a specialist named new MEAC Specialist of the Week. So just talk about your special teams play, particularly your kicking game.
Are you talking about Anthony Prevost?
Sir.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We got two great kickers. Prevost was the All-American 2 years ago, and he didn't play last year, and Adam Brown came in and kicked the ball very well. So it's a pleasant problem to have, is to have two great kickers, and both of them kick the ball in the end zone. Both of them can pooch kick. Both of them kick field goals. So we can, if one of them, Prevost has been getting a couple of cramps, and when he get cramps, Adam will go in and kick, and he makes his kicks. And when Prevost healthy, he kicks, and kind of just how they're feeling and how we feeling. We got confidence in both of those guys that they can hit the kicks and they can both kick in the end zone. So it's a pleasant problem to have.
Well, thank you, Coach, for taking time out and speaking with us, and good luck in your homecoming versus Morgan State on Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Hampton will host Morgan State Saturday afternoon for its homecoming festivities. Kickoff is scheduled for 2 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live on HamptonPirates.com. Our next head coach this morning who will join us is Savannah State's Erik Raeburn. Savannah State's game against Morgan State was postponed due to Hurricane Matthew, and was rescheduled for November 26th. The Tigers will travel to North Carolina Central this weekend to face the Eagles. Good morning, Coach Raeburn. Coach Raeburn, are you there? Oh, good morning. Hey, Coach, this is a non-football question. How is everyone doing that was affected by the hurricane, and how quickly do you anticipate things returning to somewhat of a normalcy after last weekend?
Obviously, most importantly, all of our players are safe. I believe all of our students are safe. No one was injured. Obviously, there's tons of damage. Some of them whose families live, in the Southeast, their families' homes have been damaged and stuff, and then obviously our campus has had a ton of damage. But all of them are safe. About 2/3 of them made it back to campus yesterday evening, and we have them in a hotel, and we're hoping that we'll have almost everybody back at some point today. And so we're going to try to have our first practice today since last Tuesday. So I know our guys are kind of looking forward to getting back out there and taking their mind off the hurricane and playing a little football.
And from the little football you've probably had to study last week, talk about what you've seen from North Carolina Central.
Yeah, obviously, they're a really good football team. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, and obviously, when you have a good quarterback, then it just makes all the difference on offense. And then defensively, I've been really impressed with them. They really fly around. I think they're excellent up front. So their D line kind of sets the tempo. I think those guys are. Big physical. They play hard, and so they're a pretty talented group. I think they have good depth there, so they're able to, rotate guys in there and keep those guys fresh. So that'll be a real challenge for us, trying to get them blocked, not just in pass protection, but get them blocked in the run game as well.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Ladies and gentlemen, to register for a question, you may press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. You will hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Coach Raeburn, what's it going to take for your Tigers to pull off another upset against Central?
Yeah, it'll take a great effort by our guys for sure. Obviously, we're going to have to play excellent on defense. I don't see us scoring a ton of points against them. Their D line is our offensive line is pretty young and they are really talented on the defensive line. So we're going to have to take care of the football and play great on defense and make 1 or 2 plays on special teams to have any chance against a team as good as North Carolina Central.
How would you contrast how your team played in the win over Bethune versus the loss the following week?
Yeah, I guess I just felt like we made a ton of mental errors in the FAMU game. Had a really bad first half. Particularly on offense. Just didn't get much going. Then we had some success in the second half offensively. Strung together some long drives. Just couldn't get any big plays going, but we were able to put together some long drives, and unfortunately, there at the end, he threw a pick in the end zone that kind of sealed our fate. But defensively, the big disappointment for me was our right before the half. About 30 seconds left to go in the half. I think they had 3rd and 15 or 2nd and 15 maybe, and they completed like a 45-yard pass against us, and then on the very next play, like a 20-some-yard pass, ended up with the ball on our 1-yard line and punched it in the next play to get a touchdown right before the half. And obviously we have higher expectations out of the defense than that, and it was just a communication error between our two safeties, and we cut a guy completely loose, and it ended up costing us.
But it was a very winnable game.
Yeah, absolutely. We felt like we had, despite how poorly we played, particularly in that first half, we felt like we had a chance to win the game. We were driving at the end, down 19-14. I think we had the ball. I think we had the ball on about the 12-yard line, and we called a little play-action pass and had our tight end open, and the ball just sailed over his head, and their safety picked it off in the end zone. So yeah,
right.
we felt like.
I remember you told me that before. Are you sticking with Bell as a starter?
We plan on playing both Deaver and Bell both. We feel like they've both done some good things. Up until that point, I thought TJ had played really well. But when Blake was in there, our kind of unfair to him. I mean, our pass protection was pretty poor. I think he got sacked. I think Blake got sacked 4 times, and we didn't. He maybe only threw. We maybe only called 12 passes with him in there. So no matter who plays quarterback, I mean, if you don't do a better job in pass protection, they just got no chance. So we didn't feel like Blake played poorly. He just seemed like he just never had a chance to get a ball thrown without having somebody in his face.
When you look at last year's film, and I'm not sure, Savannah State played Central last year?
Yes.
What do you see in that film? What was the score of the game? I don't have it in front of me, but what was the score of that game?
It was actually one of the best first halves, probably the best first half that Savannah State played all last year. I think they were up 21 in the first half, and
right, that's right.
But just couldn't sustain it, which shows two things. Obviously Savannah State, Savannah State's inexperience, but also showed North Carolina Central's kind of championship pedigree. Very few teams, if they get off to a bad start like that and dig themselves a hole, very few teams can kind of hang in there mentally and keep battling and battle their way back. But that's what championship teams can, and so that was maybe the most impressive thing to me from the game last year is even though I'm sure North Carolina Central didn't feel like they played well. They have to be proud of the fact that when they went down big, they didn't. Their guys didn't throw in the towel and didn't hit the panic button. They just kept grinding away and were able to find a way to battle back and get the win.
Yeah, I remember that now. It was a tale of two halves kind of thing. They scored 21 straight, Savannah State, then Central scored like 40-some straight, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Coach, look, good luck Saturday.
Hey, thank you.
Our next question comes from the line of Ty Miller with Sheridan Broadcasting Network. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Coach Raeburn, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Of course, the game Lou's talking about, they were up 22-0 and ended up losing 39-22. So with that being the case, from what we've seen this year, after your first two games, and the last two that you played, you've taken the team to a point where they know it's a 60-minute game as opposed to a first-half game, right?
We feel like we have. That was one of the things we tried to, really preach with them. One of the things I thought was, as I watched the film from last year when I first got the job, I just didn't feel like, Savannah State played hard every play. They just, something bad would happen. You could kind of see the heads hanging and the shoulders shrugging, basically that, here we go again mentality. And then it would just snowball on them. And so the one thing we kind of talked to our team about, our number one goal was, we told them we have to learn how to play hard for every play for 60 minutes, no matter what the score is. You got to play hard. Once you learn how to do that, then you're gonna look around in the fourth quarter and you're gonna be in the game and still have a chance. And so I do think we're getting better at that. We've made mistakes, but I think you'd have a hard time, finding any clips where you would say, geez, they're not playing hard, or they don't have the effort there. You'll find plenty of clips where you'll say, geez, they're screwing this up or they're making a mistake here, but hopefully you'll have a hard time finding any clips where we're not playing hard.
Coach, looking back on the Georgia Southern and Southern Mississippi games, playing up and fast in September, how has that helped you as you've got into your MEAC schedule? And do you feel your team's on par with most, if not all, the teams in the MEAC right now?
Yeah, that's, I've been asked this question a bunch. I know some people think, you should, it's bad for your program to play teams like Georgia Southern and Southern Miss, and I understand those points, but I think it is. I think it does help you a little bit, when you go against, just go against really outstanding players, from an individual standpoint, things happen faster in those games. And so I think then when you get to conference play, it feels like maybe it's slowing down for you a little bit. So I do think there's some advantages to playing against teams like Georgia Southern and Southern Miss, because I think it gets you used to playing at a super fast speed, and then when you get into conference play, you're more acclimated to it and can react a little bit faster. And in terms of whether we feel like we certainly feel like we can compete with everybody in the conference. It's just it's a different thing to be able to get the win. I think our guys understand we gotta, we're pretty young. We need spring ball. We need an off season, to try and develop our guys. But I think our guys understand that we have a pretty small margin for error. We can be competitive, but to be able to win, we just can't make very many mistakes. And so that's kind of the challenge for us. I didn't feel like we played terrible in the FAMU game, but man, we had a bad first half and just not good enough to completely overcome that.
Finally, Coach, how much has your defense, particularly the pass defense, improved, and how much of a key would that be to try to get pressure on the quarterback this weekend and to help your pass defense against North Carolina Central?
Yeah, I think we've improved. I think we've improved a lot defensively. I think last year, I believe Savannah State was 125th out of 127 teams last year in total defense. So I feel like we've made big strides. The pass rush is critical for us, and that's kind of been that's not an area that we're fantastic at. I do think we're very good at D end. Our problem has been inside. We have not gotten much pressure out of our interior guys, and so they've been able to kind of avoid the pressure from the outside guys. Teams have been able to kind of chip our D ends, and quarterbacks have been able to escape, step up in the pocket and get away from the pressure when we got it out of our DN. So we have gotten good pressure out of our DNs, but we need to get better inside, against a great quarterback like we're going to face on Saturday.
Well, Coach, thanks a whole lot, and good luck this weekend against Central.
Thank you.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Thank you, Coach Raeburn, for taking time out, and we just look forward to seeing you this weekend as you travel to Durham, North Carolina, and stay safe as the campus recovers from Hurricane Matthew.
Thank you.
Once again, Savannah State will travel to Durham, North Carolina to play North Carolina Central this Saturday at 2 p.m. The contest will be streamed on nccueaglepride.com. Our next call takes us to Orangeburg, South Carolina, as we welcome in head coach Buddy Pough of South Carolina State. The Bulldogs game against Bethune-Cookman was postponed last week due to Hurricane Matthew and rescheduled to November 26th. The Bulldogs will travel to Howard on Saturday. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Coach, similar to Bethune-Cookman and Savannah State, football took a back seat last weekend due to the hurricane. Just talk about the state of your team in the Orangeburg area as a whole.
Well, we hope good. We've got a little bit of a strange deal scheduling-wise. We come off an open week and then get another open week. That's just kind of an unusual circumstance of sorts. We've been away so long now until it almost feels like we starting over again. So we practiced now the last couple of days. We got them back in here, I think, Monday afternoon. We've got all kinds of guys with situations at home, homes, some with no power and that kind of stuff in their home. So, it's a little bit of a tough circumstance, but at the same time, we've got all our guys back now on campus, and we start school back today. So we're trying to get back to normal.
Coach, we had time to focus on football. Talk about Howard and what you've seen on them from tape.
Well, Howard's been, a little bit snake bitten by some of their circumstances. They've had some injuries and they've moved some people around, and they've had a tough schedule. They played some D1 money style kind of games, and those tend to kind of start your record a little bit, and then they play some teams in our league that have played well. Morgan and some of those guys, Hampton, have gotten after them a little bit, but you could see that game that they played against Norfolk a couple of weeks ago. Is more in tune than what we had expected from Howard for this year. And, after having been down on the road, they come back and win a tough football game that way. So, we feel like we've got our work cut out for us still, and we don't exactly know where we are, after what we've been through. So we've got our work cut out for us to go up here and play those guys up in their place on this coming Saturday.
Thank you, Coach, and we'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Trevin A. Jones with SBN Sport. Please proceed with your question.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Trevin. How are you?
I am well, sir. Hey, Coach, I asked Coach Harrell about this earlier in the conversation. You got number 7 for Howard University, Anthony Field. Ashley has been gaining probably 100 yards in the first half of the last couple of games. And then you have Darius Leonard, your defensive number 10. When you look at these two individuals, it seems like these are two individuals that could play on Sunday. Is that your opinion as well?
Well, I hope so. We think that Darius has got, all of the ingredients to be an NFL guy one day. What I'm really proud of, though, is that Darius is a 3-point student, and, he'll graduate from South Carolina State. If that NFL thing happens to work out for him at that point, then, so be it. But at the same time, he'll always be able to go out with his personality and with the academic skills that he's acquired here and earn a living.
Awesome. And, Coach, my next question is, you had a couple of weeks off. It's been an unusual season for you at this point. And I heard you reference it a little bit. Is the team looking for its identity right now, or are they pretty much on schedule as well as can be expected at this point?
Well, I think when you have these kinds of circumstances, we're a little bit unknown ourselves. We play some real tough games, at the beginning of our year, and then we get a chance to go down and play Florida A&M and play somewhat better there. But, it's been so long now, Tevin, that, we don't know where we're at. We like to think that, that we continue to improve. But it's been a long layoff, and, it'll be interesting to see just how we do react after having come off of this, unusual kind of bye weeks of sorts.
And is there anything about Howard that sticks out in your mind? I know people have talked about Anthony Fillion, who was a co-player of the week this week. Is there anything about that defense, their offensive line, that you've noticed?
Well, Howard is always traditionally a tough matchup for us. And, even when they, come down here, they give us a tough time. So, we always believe that, Coach Gary Harrell offense and a Ray Petty defense will always get after us from start to finish. And, we generally play, to the very end, having to, get after these guys. So it's a tough game for us. And, we'll have our work cut out for us. I think you pretty much know that they're getting to the point now where they're making, somewhat, something close to their last stand. And, they've got to make something happen here pretty quick. So you can imagine when you got a caged animal like that with his back against the wall, what he'll probably try to do, to get after us.
And, Coach, my last question, Deacon Jones, the Black College Hall of Fame Player of the Year award, named after Deacon Jones, South Carolina State alum. Have you talked about that to your team? Has it been some type of inspiration to the team, knowing that the Player of the Year for the Black College Football Hall of Fame is actually a Bulldog?
We hadn't, but we talk about in our Bulldog experience at the beginning of every year, the history of South Carolina State football. And, we're awfully proud of the fact that South Carolina State's got the only 3 NFL Hall of Famers from a college in the state of South Carolina, Deacon Jones, Marion Motley, and Harry Carson. So, our guys are aware, that those guys played here and had tremendous careers in the NFL, and, somewhat a big source of pride for us. So we always know that that's out there, although we may not necessarily have talked about that specific award that's been named after him.
Coach, I always appreciate you and respect you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ted.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Thank you, Coach Pough, for taking time out and talking with us this morning, and we wish you and your football team and the entire South Carolina State campus well in the recovery process from Hurricane Matthew.
Okay, appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and look forward to talking with you next week. South Carolina State returns to action this Saturday as they travel to Washington, D.C. To battle Howard University. The contest kicks off at 1 p.m., and you can hear it live on WHBC 96.3 HD3. We'll now move on to Greensboro, North Carolina, as North Carolina A&T State University head coach Rod Broadway joins us this morning. The Aggies defeated Norfolk State on Thursday and will travel to Bethune-Cookman on Saturday for their third straight contest on ESPNU. Good morning, Coach Broadway.
Good morning, Ron. How you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Man, I'm good. Thank you.
Well, Coach, there's so much we could talk about just on what we saw last week, but we'll focus on the first half. It was similar to the Hampton game and didn't start off as fast as you may have wanted, but then the team turned it on in the second half. So can you just talk about the team's adjustments that have been made after halftime both weeks?
Well, we just challenged our guys to play faster and harder in the second half. No major adjustments other than, instead of trying to knock the quarterback out as far as a physical tackle, we just concentrate on trying to get him down and just making the plays that we're in position to make. So there wasn't anything really to change at half. We just need to tackle better and catch a few balls. We had a couple of drop balls and a couple of overthrown balls, so it was just execution for a little bit.
And what have you seen from Bethune-Cookman on film, as they've kind of had an odd year in terms of limited tape due to 2 games not being played? So what do you see from them as you prepare to battle them on Saturday?
I see a dangerous football team. I see a team that hadn't won a game, but I see a talented football team, and that makes them dangerous. When you're desperate and you're talented, they have some players, and I don't know, why they isn't like the Bethune usually are, but I see a lot of talent down there. So we got to go play and play our butts off to have a chance to win this game.
And also talk about, it's kind of not a football question, but it is the success where North Carolina A&T is now in terms of enrollment. A lot of people know that you're hosting President Obama on campus this afternoon. Just talk about the university as a whole, and with the athletic program and the school on an upswing. Just talk about how does that go hand in hand.
Well, it's big, Ryan. One of the things that happened is that we had so much publicity from the Celebration Bowl that our applications went up, I think, 70-something, 80%. We're a growing university, and rightfully so, because we're a good university. And we've been on ESPN for 3 weeks in a row, so we're getting a lot of national attention. And when that happens, you give the university a chance to grow. Again, just last year's Celebration Bowl, our enrollment was up 70-75%. So we're proud of where we are as an athletic department, and we're proud of where we're going as far as the school's concerned.
Thank you, Coach, and we'll now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, Coach Broadway.
Good morning, Luke. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I understand, and you told us on Monday that you're going to be at the meeting with President Obama. I want to know what kind of question you got for him. I'm sure you're going to task him to answer some hard question. What kind of question are you going to throw at him?
Oh, I'm just there to listen and admire our president, just hear what he has to say. And I'm just a person in the audience, but I'm so looking forward to sitting down and having an opportunity to meet the president of the United States.
No questions, Coach?
No, I leave that up to you reporters. You guys are a good question to ask.
Another question, Coach. Celebration Bowl, you talk about enrollment being up. I didn't get a chance to ask you this when it happened, but how did you deal with the situation that happened off campus involving the students who were tragically killed? How did you deal with that with your players?
Well, we just talked with them. One of the things that we try to get our guys to understand that, 2 o'clock in the morning, especially during football season, you shouldn't. I hope you're not out anyway. But that was a case where 2 innocent people died, and as they say, bullet doesn't have a name on them at 2 a.m. in the morning, so we try to encourage our kids. And the tricky situation here, Luke, is that you want your guys to enjoy being a college student. You want them to go to parties and have a social life and do all those things. But at what cost? You also have to be careful, because those were 2 college students that just went to have some fun and ended up getting killed. But we talk with them about it, how to act, how to conduct themselves. And, sometimes if your gut tells you to do something, usually listen. But we try to make sure all our guys are in at a decent hour.
Did you have any particular players that were from the same hometowns as the young man and young lady that were passed, and anything like that?
No, but we had a couple of guys took some classes with them and knew them fairly well. So, But it's a sad situation when, it used to be college was a safe haven for most situations, and now, man, your kid go to college and end up getting shot. So it's a sad situation, and, nothing but, I just wish the best for their family that they can remain strong.
Well, congratulations on meeting the president. Good luck Saturday when you go down to Daytona Beach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our next question comes from line of Trevin A. Jones with SBN Sport. Please proceed with your question.
Coach Broadway, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm good. How you doing today?
I'm always doing well, Coach. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And when you meet the president, at least I'll be able to say I know somebody that knows the president, so I know somebody that knows the man.
I don't know the man.
Hey, Coach, just one question about the team at this point in time in the season. Are they on schedule as you had planned for them? Because it seems like you have a team that could get ahead of schedule as far as development is concerned. I'm interested in seeing what your opinion on that is.
No, as football coaches, you're never pleased. We always strive to get better, and I would have hoped that we'll be much better than we are at this point. But I think we're getting better, and that's the key for us is that we need to improve weekly. And I need to see the fundamentals improve. I need to see the technique improve, alignments, assignment, gap fills and fits, and all those things that make you a good player. The hip roll, the eyes. I don't want to see all those things improve weekly. And we're moving in the right direction as far as our development. But I wish we would have been there 2-3 weeks ago.
That's all I had, Coach. Thank you for the answer. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a good day.
You too.
Our next question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black Collar Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Last thing, Coach, one quick question. Are you getting any of your players in, or how many of your players are going to meet the president?
6. They chose 6 of them.
And was it picked by their academic football combination performance? Or was that something that was up to you? Were you able to pick those 6?
No, I had nothing to do with it, Luke. Actually, we were scheduled to be on the road today and go down to Bethune because we were supposed to play on Thursday. So we picked, we sent a list of 20 guys over there that was on the travel team. And so they end up picking guys from that list, and now the thing got canceled. You have to go through security check, and so give me Social Security number, have to do all those background checks if everyone's going to be there. So we really couldn't get it changed. So the 20 names that we sent in earlier, they ended up picking 5 of our kids.
Okay, got you, Coach. Thanks.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
With Broadway, thanks for joining us once again, and I know you look forward to this historical meeting this afternoon, so have a good time, and we look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Thank you, Ryan. You have a good day.
You too. Once again, North Carolina A&T State will travel to Daytona Beach, Florida to take on Bethune-Cookman this Saturday at 1 p.m. The game will be carried live on ESPN3 and televised on ESPNU at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will now close out this morning's teleconference with Jerry Mack of North Carolina Central. The Eagles defeated Florida A&M at home last week and host Savannah State in its homecoming game. Good morning, Coach. Coach
Hello?
Mack, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
For the second straight year, your game versus Florida A&M came down to the wire, and your team persevered once again despite less than idle elements. So just talk about the game as a whole last week.
Probably one of the most adverse situations as far as weather that I've ever played in. The wind and the rain and the elements itself, that they were just outstanding. I thought our guys really did a great job of persevering, like you said. We couldn't really offensively, we couldn't do what we're accustomed to doing. Let's have, great, good balance. We had some turnovers and probably offense and special team wise that we usually don't have. So we were able to fight through and still find a way to try to win the game in the end, and that's what I'm most proud about our team about. Savannah
State didn't play last week due to the hurricane. So what do you expect to see on the field this weekend?
No different than what we've been seeing on film over the last 3 weeks from Savannah State. You can tell they're a much better team than they have been in the past years. That they're really well organized. Coach has done a great job of putting guys in positions to be successful. He's made some position changes at some spots as well. So you can tell they're going to come in here. They had a little rest, so they should have some fresh legs, and they're probably going to fly around like they've been showing each and every week on film.
And just talk about, once again, it seems like we're calling out somebody from the defense. I guess I had to make that a weekly segment on a teleconference. This week it was Reggie Hunter that had a good game, and several guys had eight or more tackles, but Reggie Hunter stood out with 3.5 tackles for loss along with 8 tackles. Just talk about each week is a new person that we bring up. Just talk about the defensive play as a whole.
Our defense has been playing really good. They've been doing a great job of flying to the football. Our defensive line's been doing a really good job of creating penetration and getting up the field and trying to wreak havoc. And, we have a saying on defense about hit anything that moves, and those guys have been doing a good job of taking that to another level. Last week you saw a lot of tackles for loss. You saw not only Reggie Hunter had an excellent game, Freddie Ajuda did some really good things, and Antonio Brown and Jaquan Smith up front. And we've constantly preached about our defensive line and our defensive front linebacker core really being a good unit for us right now. And if we're going to continue to win games, they're going to have to continue to play at a high level for us like they're doing.
Thank you, Coach. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, to register for a question, please press 1 followed by the 4 on your telephone. Our first question comes from the line of Luke Williams with Black College Sports. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Coach Mack. The weather conditions last week, the most difficult thing, I assume, was throwing the ball?
No doubt. I mean, we've had success being really balanced attack on offense and defense. And one thing about offensively, we can't throw the ball. It complements our run and vice versa. So it was just tough to really get the ball airborne last week.
And talk about, it looks like Darrell McClain returned to some of his 2015 form. Talk about his performance in the game.
It was his kind of day. Darrell is a tough, hard-nosed runner in between the tackles. He's a great compliment to the way Ramon Simpson runs the ball and the way Malcolm Bell runs the ball. He's a little bit bigger. Those kind of conditions where he's going to run hard between the tackles. Guys were bouncing off of him. He's been nursing the injury a lot this entire year, and he's finally getting back into the groove where that ankle and his body is feeling just almost to 100%. So we're really excited about just the remainder of the season, how he performs.
And I know that in that game-winning touchdown drive, you had looks like a big return from Mike Jones. What about him returning to his, being the healthy Mike Jones that we're used to seeing?
Each and every week, I think Mike is getting better. He came up with a big interception to seal the victory against Bethune-Cookman, and then this past week, he came up with a really key return to give us great field position on the last drive. So I think the goal for any coach is for you to see your team get better every week. And I think, that we're slowly coming along, and, we're trying to get to our peak type level, and it's getting there. It's a little bit slower than I would like, but I can see it constantly getting there every week.
What are you going to have to do to make sure you don't have the kind of start that you had last year against Savannah State?
We just talked to them about it. We came in on Sunday. We showed some video from last year's first quarter debacle. So I think those guys know what's at stake this year. I think they understand that, that's the goal, not to come out there and take anything for granted, not to come out there and think that, you got to take care of the ball and things like that. And a lot of it last year too was, it's just one of those situations where the ball didn't bounce our way a couple of times. Some of it was, our guys making bad decisions and poor tackling. So the goal is to open up the game this year, and we don't have those kind of situations.
Which is more, Coach Broadway likes to tell us all the time, every win's a good win, and I certainly understand that philosophy. But which one, I guess, makes you feel better? The comeback last year against Savannah, 21 down, or scoring late as you did in this game to pull the FAMU game out?
I don't think any one of them means more than the other. I just think for us, it speaks a lot about the character of our team. We had a meeting this past week, and we talked about, if we're up or we're down, it really doesn't matter. It matters, what the score at the end of the game is. One thing about kids these days and about our team is we're able to overcome some adversity. And that's what you got to be able to do in a game of football. When you're down or even when you're up and you start to have some miscues, you have to be able to overcome that adversity, because that's just kind of how life is. We're not going to always be up by 21 points. We're not always going to be down by 21 points. But, just staying consistent throughout the course of the game and understanding what it's going to take to get over the hump, that's the most thing I'm impressed with, not only last year with the 21 deficit, but also this year, us coming back. And we've had some miscues as well against the Norfolk game. We had a lead and we did some things, but we still were able to overcome, our obstacles and still end up with a win. So that just speaks a lot about where we're at as a program, that we feel we play with a lot of confidence. We always feel like we have a chance to win the game as long as there's time on the clock.
And this is my last question, Coach. As hard as it was to throw the ball, how was Malcolm able to get that pass off to Smith? Was that a short pass that he ran long, or did it actually go in the air in the midst of all of that wind?
No, I think it was about 40 yards or so. It was just one of those situations where we were able to get the ball was a little bit drier that time. The rain had let up just a little bit. The wind was still pretty strong, and we had manipulated a play where we could try to get a receiver wide open, and that's kind of what we did. It was a good call by Coach Taylor, offensive coordinator, and Malcolm did a good job, and Levante did a good job of executing the play.
Congratulations, Coach. Good luck against Savannah this week.
No problem. Thank you.
Homecoming too, right, Coach?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have no further questions from the phone lines at this time.
Coach Mack, one thing I wanted to ask and also mention, your kicker, Brandon McLaurin, missed one field goal and one PAT this whole year, and he's played in some less than idle elements also. So just talk about his play and what he means to this team.
Brandon has really grown as a kicker and as a teammate as well. He's done some really good things for us this year. I think he took the summertime to really evaluate some things that were going on with him and just how good he wanted to be going into his last year of kicking. And he's done a great job of now coming in his senior year and taking his game to another level. He handles our kickoff duties for us. He's done a great job of putting the ball out the end zone when we need him to. He's done a great job of knocking down field goals and extra points. And he is just playing at a very, very high level, which if he continues to do that, I feel really good about us winning games and getting in scoring position. Right now, I think we're 100% in the red zone, and a lot of that is because of him. He's been able to knock down those field goals, chip shot field goals when we have to.
Well, thank you, Coach, for taking time out and speaking with us this morning. Good luck as you prepare for homecoming and Savannah State this weekend.
Thank you, Ron.
North Carolina Central will host Savannah State this Saturday. A kickoff is set for 2 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live on NCCUEaglePride.com.